DJ PK, and we're joined now by Riley Jensen, college football expert and mental performance coach. Riley, good morning.
Hey, it is a good morning. Good to talk to you guys on a Monday. Let's go.
All right. Everyone's trying to figure out now. Everyone knows, okay, well, I should say everyone knows. Everyone should know at this point the Utes and Cougars are good. But I get, because of lack of competition, fans are like, I don't know if they're very good. I don't know if they're great. I don't know if this is the best team I've ever seen. Okay, you can't know that kind of top shelf unless you have Riley Jensen's finely trained football mind. How many exclamation points? They deserve exclamation points for the way they've started. How many do you want to put out there?
I think there's a couple of exclamation points on Utah's start to the season. I think there's an exclamation point on BYU's start to the season. And I think Utah State is going to be better than most people thought they were going to be. With the exception of their second quarter yesterday or Saturday, they played pretty well. I think Broncos got them in the right mindset to play good football this year.
I want to go with my guy, Grizzly Bear Bachmeier. Obviously a freshman, second game. Everything is brand new. Going forward, this will be the first road game. After that, it'll be the first conference game. First road game, first game before a packed house, blah, blah, blah. How much can you force feed him as opposed to let it develop naturally?
Oh, I think you force feed him as much as he can so you can find out what he can do. I think that Aaron put a lot on him in the Stanford game, and I think the result in this game was exactly what I thought you were going to see from a freshman quarterback. And I'll give you an example of where Bear shows some flashes of really good stuff and then also shows you that he's a freshman. So I can't remember the exact score. I think the score was 14-0 at halftime. They get the ball for a 2-minute drill. They have a chance to drive down the field. There's a couple of good passes, a couple of good gains, and then Bear makes a pass that is a veteran throw to me, meaning they do a dig route at about 15 yards. And I've told you guys before on this show particularly that you can tell when a freshman is starting to figure out offense when he can throw the ball over the middle of the field because he understands the moving parts. And he really understood the moving parts. There was a guy who cleared out a safety. A dig route comes in behind that clear route. He waits for the linebacker to clear a little bit, and he throws this beautiful dig route down the middle of the field to really get them into field goal position. And it was a beautiful throw, and I'm like, okay, Bear, you're starting to read the defense. You're starting to see things clearly. And then he proceeds to take a sack that gets them out of field goal position, and it shows you that he's a freshman, right? And so they don't get a field goal. They don't get any points out of the 2-minute drill. They have to punt the ball at the end of the half, they're up 14-0 instead of at least 17-0. And so these are the type of things that happen with freshman quarterbacks. You know, it's like you have so much to teach them. You have so much to tell them. Take care of the football inside the red zone. Don't take a sack when you're inside of field goal range. All these different things, and you just have to learn in real time. You have to cut your teeth as a freshman, and that's some lessons that he's going to learn. But there's going to be more freshman mistakes like that. That there's just so much to teach him. And there's so much good that he's doing, and there's so much that he needs to continue to learn. And he would tell you that. I think Aaron Roderick would tell you like that sack was a little bit hurtful. It didn't hurt him against Stanford, but it could hurt him in a Big 12 game. And so you gotta learn the lessons as you're going. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. There was a couple of things that he got away with in the game. There was a wheel route down the sideline that got him in real close, and then they scored a touchdown that I actually thought was a bad read with a really good throw. And so, but the other thing that I would say about BYU is defensively, they are lights out. I mean, Kelly, transfer from Weber State, he's now in his second year at BYU. He is a man-child. Tanavasa had a big sack. I mean, these guys defensively, they pose a lot of problems, just like Coach Reich was saying. I mean, they present BYU defenses. The BYU defense presents pro defenses, and they are very confusing, and they are difficult to deal with. Those guys are very fundamentally sound, and they're going to cause problems in the Big 12 for sure.
BYU, it appears, can run the ball exactly as A-Rod. He stepped up to the microphone and was very confident and brought it up and really sold it. Now L.J. Martin has put up huge numbers 2 weeks in a row, but it didn't translate so much in the red zone. That was a lot of field goals. Some of the red zone problems were obvious. Maybe some of them weren't so obvious. So in order of importance, whether they're obvious or not, what do you think went wrong on that they kicked so many field goals?
You know, that's a really good question. I'd have to look at it a little bit closer in film. Here's what I would say. L.J. Martin is the type of running back that as you continue to run during the game, he's going to continue to wear you down. And he makes good runs. He usually makes the first guy miss. There were some good holes open up. Inside of the red zone, I actually thought they were a little bit more cute with the Bear Bachmeier runs than I would have preferred. With LJ running the way he has, you don't have to put Bear Bachmeier into the runs. Now, my guess is the A-Rod's thinking that everybody knows it's going to LJ, and so maybe a couple of wrinkles off of that with some Bear Bachmeier runs and some different things there were the reason why he did that. I don't think it was bad play calls. I just think it was bad execution. But sometimes, you know, and I learned this a long time ago from a quote from Nick Saban at Alabama, where he said, you know, you get to important parts of the game, and he goes, during the game you call plays, you call things, you take what the defense gives you. He goes, when you get to a difficult part of the game, you call players, you don't call plays. And I think if you just continue to call LJ's number down there, it's going to be really difficult for people to stop. So I don't know that it's huge adjustments. I mean, he's going to be upset that some of the different play calls with Bear and getting a little cute weren't executed correctly, and they do need to continue to work on that. But when you get to a point in the game, in the red zone or when it gets tight, you call plays, not players. Or call players, not plays. Sorry.
Yeah, gotcha. Utah's offense, how much is it legit or maybe a little bit of a false sense of security here since the competition has been extremely weak?
So the more I watch it, the more I'm wondering. I mean, look, the offense is off the charts. They haven't played anyone great. UCLA did not look great. I'm a little bit worried about Dampier's natural passing ability, and I can't put a finger on it yet. I can't. There's a couple of double pumps that make me nervous.
For me, it's the long ball.
What's that?
It's the long pass. I have concern about them being able to hit the big play through the air.
I mean, he's done a couple of things where he rolls out to the right and he throws a nice little intermediate pass. But you might be right. It might be the long pass. It's also a couple of times when he's in the pocket on a 3rd down and 6 where I see him thinking that it's going to be open, and he goes to throw it. Then he's like, ooh, I don't know. And they kind of double pumps. And then he ends up throwing it to the same guy. And they're getting away with it right now. But that could hurt them later. And so I need to continue to see Dampier get a little bit more comfortable in the passing game. I know Coach Whittingham calls it the throw game, but I still call it the passing game. And just be a little bit more comfortable. And the one thing that I do like is that I do feel like he's learning. I do feel like this is a kid that wants to be a really, really good quarterback. I think he has all the moxie and he has all the leadership that he needs. And so when you look at all of the picture of him, it's still not quite natural in the passing game, but I feel like he has hope, and I feel like he's going to be okay, but he's got to figure it out before they get to the Big 12.
To me, the part of the passing game that's scary is 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10. And I mean, your conversion rates probably aren't good with that down and distance anyway, and it's such a small sample size. Plus the quality of competition, I just don't see how we can know that. And the deep balls, he threw 3 against UCLA that were underthrown. Right. Now, he completed 1 and 1 drew a penalty, so the results were pretty good. But when you have somebody behind everybody, you want to hit them in stride so they can run for the touchdown. You can't be underthrowing it and then they get tackled and now their defense has a chance to make a play instead of just giving up the touchdown.
Yeah, and I'm probably a little bit less critical of the long ball with quarterbacks because the truth of the matter is in a real, and I hate to say a real football game because any football game it's just nice to get a win. UCLA was a nice win, okay? But when I was looking at the stats of my quarterbacks, when I had a chance to be a coordinator, and when I was looking at the deep ball statistics, I was ecstatic if we were 2 for 4 on a long ball because the passing typically when you're throwing a deeper ball, you're talking about you're talking about more than 20 yards on the pass. And defensive coordinators love it when you're throwing the ball that long because the ball's in the air longer. But if you're 2 for 4 on long balls and you hit one of them for like a long touchdown, you're ecstatic as an offense coordinator because you know that those are not always open and you know that the completion percentage is lower. So what you do want, though, is you do want them to hit them in stride, like you talked about, DJ, and you do want to give them a chance where it's either he catches the ball or no one catches the ball. So that's where there's a difference in what we're talking about as far as the deep ball goes. But to be honest with you can't expect, the best quarterback in the country is going to be 4 for 4 on a deep ball. But after that, you're looking at 2 for 4. You're looking at, man, even if you land 1 for 4, but you get a touchdown out of it, everybody thinks you're just dialing up great plays. But those plays they're not high percentage plays. As much as you try and draw defenses up and as much as you try and draw it up, they're just not as high a percentage as people think. It's just that they're explosive in nature, and so when you hit them, the fans are going crazy, you're going crazy, you're pumped because you got a free 7 points out of the deal.
I'm curious, Riley, in this era with social media and with people being hypercritical, and you work in the whole mental health, mental performance coach, and it's natural to be working with people on their confidence, right? But do you have to work with people who are getting really bad negative feedback on social media where we're talking it's beyond performance? This is about being able to enjoy your life and being mentally healthy and not having people crush you. Do you have to deal with that a lot? And if so, how do you do it?
So it's absolutely a huge epidemic right now. And I'll come strong on this one. Most of the people that are sneaking into people's DMs, that are finding people's phone numbers, that are texting, major players' parents because they're upset about a win or a loss are degenerate gamblers. They're mad about losing money. But it's out of control right now. I've never seen it at this kind of a fever pitch. It makes me really angry because you're talking about, 18 to 22-year-olds that their brains are still developing, and it's very, very difficult. It makes me very angry. Now, there are a lot of things that we do to help athletes deal with this. One is I suggest to every athlete just to get off of social media and not even be around it during the football season. If they want to deal with it after the season, it's much easier when everybody's emotions are down a little bit. But I talk to them about, just getting off of social media. Another thing that is a big thing, and this is a little bit of a different approach, but I really talk to them about the fact that if you wouldn't call this person to ask them for advice, why in the world would you take their criticism, right? So that's another tool that we use. It's just like, look, there's always going to be people that take shots. But if you don't know them and you wouldn't call them for advice, why in the world would you take criticism? The only people that you should take criticism from is perhaps someone that you really trust that you would also call to ask advice from. So that's another thing. We can also switch it. I've already been coaching my own 11-year-old son. And by the way, PK, just a funny side note, I asked my son, did you learn cover 1, cover 2, cover 3, cover 4 from me? Or did you learn it from Madden? And he said, oh, totally from Madden. He didn't even hesitate. I was so beat up. Anyway, coming back to the point, right? The thing that we talk about, and I've been talking about with my son, they don't boo and they don't criticize players that suck. They don't.
Barry
they
Bonds.
Don't care about.
Yep.
They don't care about the guy that doesn't do anything. And so in some ways you have to turn some of that negativity as a player and some of that negativity as a competitor into they're cheering for you. They're literally telling you that you're legitimate and that you play well. And so that's another tool that we do to kind of reverse the psychology and the difficulty of it. The part that I feel bad for the parents of some of these players that are getting texts that say your kid should have never been born. You should have done this or that to make sure that didn't happen. You're talking about like really, really vile things that people say, and it is just disgusting behavior. But it's a very real thing that we have to deal with. Now, I am a mental performance coach. I am not a clinical psychologist. If it's bad enough, and I'm trained to recognize, the anxiety and perhaps the depression that's taking place, I will refer him to a clinical psychologist. And at some points, there's no shame in being medicated to be able to slough off some of these things and be a duck sort of sorts and let things roll off your back. But there are a lot of tools that we're using. There's tools that I use as a mental performance coach that are even more clinical than some of these things, but I just wanted to give you some bite-sized pieces of things that we talk about when it comes to people criticizing these athletes, because none of these athletes are trying to play bad. There's not one. Yeah. They're so much more invested in this than you that it's ridiculous that you would even criticize.
Riley, we appreciate it. As always, you're the man. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you again.
Okay, guys. Have a great day.
All right. There's Riley Jensen, Bronco Mendenhall, Aggie head coach, is coming up next right here on The Zone.